Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to take a look at this video because the concept of it is very interesting. I am an Asmongold enjoyer, so I've been looking at games from the perspective of an MMO and what is important in an MMO. But I think in some ways, even though League of Legends is a MOBA, it is also, of course, an MMO. And it is very important, the crucial thing about an MMO is always covering as many bases as possible in terms of what you are providing to your player base. Meaning, for example, in World of Warcraft, this game is very accessible to many type of players. Even though, of course, now someone's going to tell me World of Warcraft is dying, blah blah blah. World of Warcraft is still largely a very successful game. There's the gathering side of it, there's the pet battles, and they're just increasing the catalog of content and things to do to attract different types of players. Right? That's why rarely games that are so, focused on only one aspect, rarely they succeed. I think a good champion, a good kind of example is Battle Right? Bloodline Champions, for me, is one of the best games that I've ever played. I enjoy it very much, and it saddens me that that game is dead. But it only caters to one specific type of player, the competitive one, right? In League, there's a lot of people that like to play normal games. There's a lot of people that like to play ARAM, and I think the main thing that for me, what Riot has missed the mark on is this idea of, sinking time into something and letting it grow and investing into something to cater to a different, another different piece of the pie in terms of what type of players and gamers are out there, right? And every game mode in League of Legends history has come and died. I was preparing for I was looking into what was going on in League 2017, and then it struck me, right? We had Doom bots, we had the Star Guardian event, we had a Dark Star event, we had even events that were created with the broadcast. I remember we had all the casters in LCS, they played against the Doom bots. That was a good time. We had the whole Earth thing. I remember when I dressed up as Shocks, and you have that gif of me like whipping my hair. That was me pretending to be Shocks. I don't know whose idea that was, but I went along with it, just a good time. Yeah, and now when you think of anything that happens nowadays, if they don't see a direct return, I feel like everything is cut off. And the strange thing for me, the strangest part is that when it comes to Riot and all of the other games that they are making a lot of content. A lot of content. TFT is getting more new content than League. Even now, this patch, this new season that we're playing, season 13, we are getting the dragon that they just messed up in the first place in season 12. So season 12 was supposed to be Hextech and Chemtech, right? Hextech, Chemtech, and that was supposed to be the big change. This time around, we get only Chemtech, and we have pets in the jungle, right? And in terms of content, in terms of depth, I feel like this patch has limited the depth more so than the other way around, because they wanted to make something less complex. They wanted to make jungle less complex. And even though Riot doesn't see a direct return in terms of how many players are playing something and what is there, I think this is such a good way of marketing the game. If someone is booting up League of Legends to play Doom bots or whatever new mode they think of, or they make an expansive mode that they're going to increase and make better, so players feel good about investing time into something and becoming good at something, I think this would do so well for League of Legends. You know, the sad part is Valorant is getting content, TFT is getting content, even, Legends of Runeterra is getting a lot of content. How many random YouTube videos have I seen of advertisements and content that is being created for the Legends of Runeterra? Of course, they are recycling a lot of the concepts from League already in terms of champions, but this idea that League seems like a secondary thing now for Riot just because it has reached the point of complacency due to the competition in the market, that to me is disappointing. But let's see what Necrit has to say. Let's jump into it.
Well, the last time I brought this chair, I talked about a lot of shirtless men. But the chair is back because we need to talk. Just be ready for the fact that this video will go all over the place because I'm about to rant. I know the timing of this video might be a little bit strange. We just got the best finals in the history of worlds. Riot just released their ARAM update. We got a preseason with a bunch of changes, Arcane will probably get some trailers soon, and we got a teaser that Aatrox might be getting his big cinematic in early 2023. But none of these matter. Because none of these are what people expect from Riot Games.
They don't matter.
Except for the cinematic.
He's right.
And all of it is based on one simple fact. It is something I wanted to talk about for a while now. League of Legends does not have any new content anymore. Now, I know what you may be thinking. What is this about? League of Legends is still amazing these days. Well, if you think that, great! You see, after being with this game for 11 years, I learned that League's player base is constantly cycling. When someone gets into the game for the first time, they are able to stick with League for years without taking a break. Then usually after another game comes out, people take a break. And then after a few months, they come back to League of Legends. And then, usually after about 5 or 6 years, they quit permanently. I have seen this so many times at this point. Which means that while some people think that League is crap right now, others who recently joined the game think it is amazing. Or similarly, people who found a new drive to play the game think it is great. And so
I'm worried that League of Legends has had its Wrath of the Lich King moment. That is a legitimate concern of mine. That League, we are now in Cataclysm. These jungle pets and these changes, it's cataclysm. And we will not be able to go back. That is my concern.
So, League's player base is constantly cycling. Which means that how you feel never dictates how others feel about the game. I am very much aware of that. So today, I'm not here to preach doom. I'm not here to talk about how League
more like
sucks.
Mr. Pandaria.
I'm here to tell you that once you quit League of Legends, Riot is going to have a really hard time with getting you back on board. To be fair, it's still amazing that League can entertain people for years. But there is a point which everyone reaches eventually. It's when you realize, I have played every champion, I have tried all the troll
or when, in my case, I can't make money off the game anymore.
builds. I have played ARAM, Earth, and All for One.
No, I really like League of Legends. Don't get me wrong. But the how big and how large the game is a big part of why I like it. You know? Because if League was some random ass game with, let's say, 10k players, I wouldn't feel as good playing it. You know, it feels so good to play a game that everybody is playing, because becoming good at that game becomes infinitely more rewarding. It's like having a currency that is applicable in more places, right? If you play a game that nobody else plays and you are accumulating a resource, a currency that has no value anywhere else, it is kind of whatever, right?
I have bought skins I like and skins I regret. I have seen it all. At that point, your average League of Legends player quits. And it seems like Riot doesn't care. Okay,
True.
Maybe that feels a bit too dramatic. I feel like Riot is not doing enough to bring people back. Which is where we need to talk about what does bring people back. Is it balancing? I strongly doubt people care about balance unless you play for rank. Even if you play Vel'Koz and Riot buffs his damage by 5%, I doubt that's gonna be enough to make you play the game again. Is it skin?
Yes, but that image, right, Dynamiox, the moment this game begins to die and less players play it, the idea of ranking up will not be appealing to us, right? That's the danger of it.
I know sometimes people have the urge to hop back into the game to see what a skin looks like in-game, but after Riot pumps out another 20 skins within 2 patches, that very quickly stops piquing people's interest.
Yes.
Funnily enough, when people do come back to League, it is mostly because of nostalgia. They see Arcane and they think back to the time they predicted a perfect blind Jinx ultimate. So they log in and they realize, yep, that's the same game I left months ago. Nothing.
I feel this way. So Overwatch, I had a lot of fun playing Overwatch when Overwatch came out, right? I had a lot of fun playing Overwatch. But then, like, I was playing Anna and Reinhardt with Elena, and we were having a lot of fun playing ranked. I was getting to Diamond, I was reaching Masters. You know, I had a lot of fun. But then the game, you know, went to shit. We don't need to get into that. But me coming back to Overwatch 2, I was hoping, okay? I was hoping that the game would be better, or the game would bring back, or like, I don't know, for nostalgia reasons. But then it's like, after playing game 1, game 2, game 3, and I'm like, this game is exactly the same garbage. It is as frustrating as it was before. It is just, okay, we are playing 5 players instead of 6. Cool. So there is no like room for me to do a 6-man kill or do something crazy like that, you know? It's like everything has been balanced around that 5, okay, but I went away from Overwatch 2 very quickly because for me it was just as annoying to play as Overwatch 1. Yeah, in Overwatch 2, I'm also like, I don't know, some shit, dude. I feel like I'm completely one-man-ing every game, but yeah, cool rank system.
Thing changed. And that's what I believe has to change. Because for years, League has not changed. And I'm not talking about a new dragon, or a new item, or a new champion. When you return to League of Legends, you drop onto the same Summoner's Rift where you have always been.
Bro, I remember when they changed the map, guys. When they changed the map, it was insane. Like, when they changed the map, I believe it was coming into Season 3, and they just reworked the whole map. It was like, whoa. Because remember, the main argument I had with my friends always, when my friends had issues with the game, they always said, it's a kiddie game. Look at the graphics, dude. It looks like shit, man. And then, this came around. And, yes.
You're in the place where you go into a lane, you miss last hits and slowly chip away at the enemy until one side wins. This is what League of Legends has been about for over a decade, with no innovations. But now you may be thinking something else. You can't change the rules of a competitive game, you would be ruining what people love about it. And you'd be right. League of Legends is a competitive game. Once you start changing the rules, people who watch esports but don't play the game will stop understanding the game. So you can't really touch the competitiveness. But that's the thing, it's almost like Riot forgot that League of Legends can also be a casual game. Now don't get me wrong, with my whole heart I can tell you, League of Legends is not a casual game. For a proper casual game, you wanna get in, have some fun without being judged and get out. Hop in and hop out? Yeah, you can do that in League of Legends. Play without being judged? Yeah, that's not happening. No matter what you are doing in League of Legends, you are always being compared to someone else. But let's ignore that aspect of League of Legends. Let's just say that if you turn off chat and you only focus on having fun, you can play League casually. even in this scenario, you are going to hit the same wall. Because Riot is awful at separating the competitive players from the casual players. And as a result, Riot never introduced any innovations into the game. Both sides have to play the exact same game with the exact same rules. And I don't understand why. If ranked players want to keep all their rules for their climb, why don't you just change League for the casual player base? Which arguably is the bigger player base. For example, let's be honest, some people have been sick and tired of Summoner's Rift. Green plane with a few rocks and a river. Yes, it serves the purpose of being relatively dull so that you can always see what's happening. But my god, after playing Summoner's Rift for 6 years, you know what is not gonna get me back into the game? Returning to the same place that has not changed since the beta.
That's fine, Morrington, right? But the importance is that I don't think the majority of the player base is like this, right? And I know this from playing World of Warcraft, is that it's like you have maybe 300 to 500 players that are top PvPers that are fighting for rank 1, right? And then there is the rest. Then there's the rest, you know? And the rest... Yeah. But that's the main thing, right? It's like, if you are a competitor, League of Legends is a pretty good game to play, right? But the issue is, the moment the player base begins to die out, the game being competitive will not matter at all. That's the main thing, right? A big deal of the resurgence of chess was the marketing approach. I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but the fact that, you know, with all of the chess streamers starting to play chess, like XQC streaming chess, being terrible at it, you know, that made it seem very accessible and casual. And that was like an invitation to any player to get engaged with the game, right? As long as player base doesn't die, Riot can keep it as it is. But by the time it begins to die, it could be too late, right? Yeah, the Queen's Gambit was released quite some time after all of the streaming of chess began to happen. It was kind of in unison. But the Queen's Gambit is also like an example. The Queen's Gambit for chess is similar to what Arcane is for League, right?
Yeah. And I'm not talking about the change from 3 pixels to nanite power 3000 pixels. I just really wanna play League of Legends in another environment. We have Noxian arenas, Demacian plains, Piltover underground. But you know where we play instead? In the middle of nowhere, a place that has never even been confirmed to be a canon part of the universe. Now, if you don't want to reskin Summoner's Rift for ranked for the sake of clarity, why don't you do it in normals? Why don't we ever get new content?
This looks sick, by the way. Holy shit. This looks crazy, man. And for sure, they could add something like this, right? They could add something like this and then allow people to disable it in ranked. That would be cool. I would love that. Yeah. That's what they're trying with the MMO, I hope. Yeah, I'd imagine that this is what they're trying with the MMO, for sure. But is League of Legends just the cocoon that will give birth to the MMO butterfly that is the Riot MMO? Another question is like everyone that, what if all the creative people and all of the leaders in game development, what if they've just moved to Valorant and to the Riot MMO because they feel like League of Legends has plateaued?
Why don't we ever get new content? The majority of League's patches is balancing, which is great, but that's not new content. It doesn't change the game. Balancing is just different numbers that hardly count as something new to do in the game. When Riot adds in a new item, it gives you options in the item system, but it all boils down to different numbers. If we stay surface level, a new item is not too different from a balance change. You didn't change anything about how the game is being played, but you know, a couple of times a year...
To be fair, here I think he's kind of wrong. Because there are items that inherently change the way the game is being played. But I understand what it means.
We also get a new champion. Surely that's some good new content to play with. Yes, sure, I would argue a new champion is new content. That only up to 2 players can play at once. And which only really affects the people who like the role. And who fight for relevancy with the other 160 champions. I'll go for a reach, but adding in a new champion into League is like adding in a new character.
The issue, guys, what I feel like the both of you are missing, Watch Your Steps and Dynamics, is that each casual player that you have playing the game is going to add value to the competitive side too. As long as everything is happening on the same client, right, and there are players actively engaging, you're going to have players also that are going to slowly inch into the competitive side too. It is kind of like opening multiple doors that lead to the same path or the same location, more like different pathways that are leading to the same location. I think anything that increases the player base is fantastic. I think there is a lot of room for experimentation. I think a good example could be Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 had a very strong competitive game, but the ability to explore more and to really let your ideas go loose spawned so much more. So you could get to the point where maybe in these game modes, Riot could explore something that they potentially would want to add to the Summoner's Rift. And the only way to truly do that and without completely sinking resources into something that the competitive player base is going to completely hate, this is a way to do it, right? Like, this is literally how MOBAs came to be, right? In Warcraft 3 with the maps. They created there was the map editor and so forth, and they attracted a lot of players. Normal competitive sports don't have more casual content, but that's not true, right? For example, if you play football, you can play to keep the ball in the air, right? You can play to keep the ball in the air. You can play to shoot the bar. You can shoot, like, you can play volley. There's many different games. You can do so many different things with the football, right? Not the only thing you're doing in football isn't just playing matches, right? You can do drills. You can do many different things that are unique, right? And we don't have that freedom to make our own rules in League, right?
Character into Genshin without anything else. Just the character. No new bosses, no new quests, just that. Is it new content? Yeah, sure, but it doesn't add anything to the game. And in League's case, it doesn't add in anything new besides the other 160 champions. At this point, I genuinely don't know what's Riot's purpose with new champions these days. A new champion hardly makes anyone come back to the game anymore. In the past, a new champion...
I don't know if that's true, right? I feel like Riot does use every champion released as a marketing opportunity. What I would say though is that it has become more and more about the marketing and less about filling a niche in the game that is missing, right? I feel like in the past, a lot of the champions that were created because something was inherently not there and they wanted to add that element to the game, like a defensive support or an assassin or let's say a supportive mid lane, a supportive top lane, whatever. You guys get my idea that, each personality could show itself in the roles and the positions, which hand in hand also created an opportunity to be creative.
Absolutely did that. A new champion was always a massive hype moment. But after I have seen that 100 times, that moment was kinda dulled down. Also, there was a reason why Riot was adding in new champions. Most of the times, it was filling up a gap in the roles. Was supporting only about staying back without doing anything? Let's throw in a carry support. And how about a support that benefits from ganking lanes? Was jungling all about farming and ganking? Let's throw in a jungler that can enable fights between junglers. These days, the new champions never add any new value into the game. It feels like they simply exist for the sake of, hey, we need a new face. Also, new champions can sell skins. But yeah, if new champions don't drive players back into the game anymore...
I have no problem with the skin part. I have no problem at all with Riot making millions of skins. I don't mind. Riot needs to make money. I'm not against Riot making money. They should make money. I don't mind the pass. I don't mind skins. Everyone can choose to buy or choose not to buy. I think that the system where you get free stuff is quite generous in the game. I don't mind at all about this being a thing. Not true. Nyla, for example, is a twist, but people don't love her. What do you mean? What is not true? Nyla is a concept that we've had in the past. We had Mordekaiser that made the XP be different. We have melee champions in bot. That was just like trying too hard to create something that is different. She was a combination of Samira and Mordekaiser, and you know. But yeah.
Or maybe Riot should be focusing more on something else. At least in 2021, the new champions had a great effect on the narrative. Even though the Ruination was... the Ruination. From Viego to Gwen to Akshan to Vex, they followed a great overarching story, with the details being a bit hazy. So even if nobody liked them in-game, they would still bring great narrative into the world. In contrast, what would happen if we just deleted the last 5 champions from the game? No, really, I'm kinda curious. I think some people would be happy that Zeri is not dominating ranked games anymore, but then again, that's most of the competitive.
I'm seeing that Necrit, my man Necrit, is not so high rank.
Players. In reality, I don't think many people would be able to tell the difference. Instead of these champions,
I find that new skins all start to look for the same, then don't buy them. Vote with your wallet. That's the main thing. It's like they're trying to make guesses of what people are going to buy. They're trying to make skins that people are going to buy. So as long as people are buying them, then they are doing something correctly. That's like the main thing. That's why some champions have more skins, some champions have less skins. You don't need to buy skins at all. Literally, the GOAT of the game never plays with a skin, and the man has 3 of his own, right?
I think people would just pick other champions with a similar playstyle. I wonder how far back you could go deleting old champions before it would start to make noticeable impact on the game. But the reason why I'm mentioning this in the first place is because if you delete a champion from the game and yet the game stays the same, Doesn't that prove that a new champion is not new content in the context of the game? Which is strange to realize.
Yeah, the pass is really it's disappointing because it doesn't come with some kind of theme or an event. You know, it like that's like the weird thing. Would be cool if, like, let's say during the World Championship they just made a very big effort to make the Clash tournaments feel very epic. Like, wow. Like, the Clash tournaments would be really insane. They would really up the potential prizes that you have if you have the pass. Like, if you win, you unlock more in the pass quicker. Or, like, they could set it up in a way where Clash tournaments would be a lot more frequent. They could play around with the music. They could do something crazy, to fit the theme of the World Championship, to make you feel like one of the competitors and be really engaged, in what is going on,
Is considering the fact that all the new content we are getting are new champions and skins. We never get anything else. So what we really need in
this looks so sick, man. Like that a person made
or
this.
At the very least,
it looks amazing.
Change the environment. Now I understand what many of
I feel like with the dimension and the camera angle of League,
you may be thinking.
Maybe I'm
he's
crazy,
just going
but it seems like it's
Riot
easier
can't
to make
do
because
that.
it's not like
you know how
true
much that
3D.
What a headache that would be. Oh really? You wanna know what other games are doing? In Fortnite, they rework the entire map every season. It's a game with a competitive following similar in style to League, where players know certain places like the back of their hand. And still, the game is not afraid to completely rework those places. That's like arguing, well, we have to keep the river the same because people know where Baron is. In other games, when an expansion comes out, we get entire new worlds full of new models, animations, and places. In the same time, you know what League got? 4 new champions.
Yeah, I wouldn't want like a complete rework of the Summoner's Rift. I think that you need to be very careful with the PvP game. Very careful. I want nothing to be touched on the competitive game, because the competitive game is good. The competitive game, it's really good. I don't want that. I want casual content on the side of it, I don't want. I don't touch my game. I want it on the side, It's like I want the custom maps. I want the game modes. Give me Aram rank. That would be sick. But give me some fun modes. Don't touch League. Don't touch Summoner's Rift. If you have a big idea that you want to try for Summoner's Rift, bro, throw that shit everywhere else. I don't want that business. Like, test it out first, Twisted Tree Line and Spider 1v1 rank would be sick. It would be insane, man. It would be so fun. It would be so fun. Riot doesn't need to put any effort into balancing it. It's just like, give us, like, imagine every year for each split there will be also like ranked in Aram, and then it just disappears. It's like for 3 months you have ranked in Aram, and then it disappears. It gives you just enough to try to figure out what the best meta is, right? And to play according to that meta without a lot of, balancing necessities besides like fine tunings, on the most obvious OP shit. And then just move on. Didn't Riot say they didn't want to add more permanent modes because they don't want people to quit SR? But imagine they quit to play a different game. Wouldn't that be just worse? Yeah, Magma Chamber was sick.
And 148 skins. I'm serious, some people counted how many skins we got this year. But that's all we are getting. 148 skins, none of which give any value to the game itself. It's called skins for a reason. It gives a skin to something you already...
I think Aram ranked, I'm gonna be honest, Aram ranked seems to invite heavy burnout. I wouldn't want to do Aram ranked for a long time. And I think them trying Aram Clash is the first teaser of that. Yeah, I feel the same, Chaos. I think if people are quitting, if they're not playing Summoner's Rift to only play the other game modes, that is just, you know, imagine you are in the living room. That's a Summoner's Rift, right? And then someone goes in the hallway. Basically, the person who's leaving that living room, his intention was to peace out. The only thing that you're doing is adding another fucking room before the exit door.
already have. As harsh as it may be, a polished turd is still a turd. We don't need skins, we need more ways to play League of Legends. Which means that yes, the entire time I was heading towards the fact that I wanna talk about game modes. As I see it right
what
now,
the
Riot
fuck
has
is this?
two options to give League of Legends some novelty.
What is this?
Option number one would be to drastically change Summoner's Rift for normal games.
What's this?
If you're afraid of breaking everything, then sure, keep the same 3-lane system. But
What is
change
this?
everything else. I'm talking about brand new visuals. Maybe turn everything into
I never
an
played
Oxygen
this.
arena. Instead of bushes, give us traps and launch pads. Restructure the entire jungle. Give us 4 epic monsters instead of just Dragon and Baron. Maybe one monster spawns in the middle of a lane.
What's this,
Maybe
man?
Noxian beasts walk in instead of minions and they have their own abilities. Maybe tiny dragons walk into each lane and you have to dodge
Yo,
their
let me
fire.
play this.
Would it be weird and wacky? Yes.
Or use your exos,
but who
flash
cares?
arrow.
It's normal. And that's the mentality we need in normals. Who cares? Because until you get to that fun, ridiculous place, even in normals, people will still have their optimized plays. Because why wouldn't they use it? It's optimized, so it gives them the edge. But if you get wacky, who the hell knows what's the best?
Yeah, the main thing is, it's like, what Necrit is saying is that here, sadly, everyone's optimizing everything. It is just the new era of, it's the new era of gaming. It's like in the past, if I played a game, I don't know, I couldn't Google something. It's like when you bought a game, you could sink hours and hours and hours into it. Like we are in a min-max era for sure. We right now, if you want to play a game, odds are people are gonna Google it to make sure that they cover everything. It's like in MMO, like in World of Warcraft, you have parsing and you have build optimizations. If you're not doing it, you are an idiot. Right? In League, I have to say, you know, the competitive game, I like the competitive game. It doesn't need to be touched, right? I think it's really, really good. This is just life, right? It's like anything competitive, remotely competitive. You are, or like anything, you want to do it the most efficient way in the best way possible. To do it any other way feels bad. It feels stupid. It feels very stupid. So this is a challenge in itself. But the main thing is you have to fucking throw enough shit to make it like to give room for that exploration, right? I don't feel like season 13 has managed to do that. I feel like season 13 is kind of like we've just figured it out already, you know? That's the sad part.
Strategy. Still, at the very least, all they could do is change the map visually. The crazy thing about this is, they already have some of the maps. If you consider ARAM as the most casual mode there is, shouldn't we be able to change ARAM without too many people caring either? Well, where's the Butcher's Bridge? All the models are done. Yes, you will have to convert them into the new engine. But is the player's happiness not worth the time? Speaking of which, why don't we reskin ARAM for every zone? I can guarantee you the players would love it. And remember the Volibear reveal?
It would be sick,
It
man.
was so small, but Volibear actually changed the game a little bit. Why don't we have more of that? So yeah, option 1 would be to reskin the main playing field so that we see something new.
Damn.
Option 2 would be what everyone really wants.
Damn.
New game modes. Everyone knows that I'm a strong advocate for PvE in League. When Star Guardian
this was
Invasion
sick, by the
came
way.
out, I loved it.
This
And
was
then
so
when
sick.
Odyssey came in as an upgraded version of the Star Guardian,
This is also sick.
it was by far the best event League of Legends had ever seen. And all you did was fight NPCs, while occasionally fighting a bigger horde to get to the other side of the level.
This was sick,
also,
man.
you modified the abilities of your champions to a ridiculous level. For example, when Yasuo hit his tornado, the enemy would then shoot out a tornado of tornadoes, which started a chain reaction. I could sit here and talk for hours about how great Odyssey was, but the real benefit
is
of
beautiful.
this was
Yeah, the main thing, right, is it's like, you know, okay, players played this a couple of times and then they stopped. Well, give us more ways of playing the game. It doesn't even need to be extreme. Just give us more ways of playing the same game mode. And then it would be interesting. It's like, Aram is fun, because every time I have a different champion, I play against different champions, I have to think about my build, and you are constantly engaged.
it was PvE. You weren't being compared against anyone. You just played with
But this
random
looks
people
like-
together.
bro,
If someone
what's
was
this
bad
Sona,
and they
right,
didn't
by the
really
way?
know what they were doing, a good player could
Why is this
always
spam a
carry
Sona
them.
ulting?
And you weren't mad at them for being bad because they weren't feeding anyone. It was a nice loop of positivity in League of Legends. And higher difficulties had
What's
to be
happening?
unlocked. So you couldn't get a new player on your team for the harder challenges. This is new content. Odyssey took League of Legends, it gave it brand new environment, so you weren't just staring at Summoner's Rift again, and it gave it brand new rules and a brand new way to play the game.
Oh, man.
It was honestly wild that League of Legends could pull off something like this.
Oh, this is
And
sick,
the reason
dude.
why it flopped was because it was repetitive. There was not a lot of replayability. After you played the game with your abilities augmented the way you wanted, you kinda did it all, with higher difficulties only being higher numbers. Unfortunately, Riot released this game mode in 2018, only a few months before the rise of roguelikes. So what Riot didn't realize is that if they turned the augments
You know what's funny is? What's funny is they made such a big ass game mode for skins that actually suck ass. Like these skins are so bad. Like I never want to play with these skins. I am blessed I have every skin in the game, but these skins are so bad. Odyssey, Yasuo, fucking Jinx. I don't even like. I've never seen anyone play with Odyssey Jinx. I've never seen anyone play with Odyssey Malphite. It's either Shamrock, Malphite, or whatever. Okay, I love the Odyssey Jinx. Okay, God bless you. I never seen anyone play with it. Imagine this for like Spirit Blossom. Woo! That would be insane.
into random upgrades, essentially turning it into a roguelike, which, you know, is a genre legendary for its replayability. This game mode could have been insane. And if they kept this game mode permanently, and they kept adding in new bosses and augments every couple
No, but the thing is, even a game mode like this, right, is very on Nexus Blitz. Oh, Nexus Blitz, man. Bro, imagine we had a battle royale with League of Legends. You just jump into the game, okay? The only thing that you have in the beginning is your basic attack, okay? It's a melee basic attack. And then imagine you unlock like you can loot champions' basic attack spells, and then you can loot like spells, the Q, the W, the E, the R, and then you would just create crazy combinations. You could loot items. Hej Sami,
Jo,
jag streamar så du vet.
okej, cool.
När vill du sticka? Så jag kan
Nu.
planera. Nu!
In 20 minutes,
Okej.
if you game.
Okay. Thief gold card, best loot. Yeah, of course you would have to balance it, right? You would have to balance it. Yeah, basic items that fuse into something powerful, that would be cool too. Like, I'm sure you could get really wild with this. To have like a League of Legends battle royale, but you just loot instead of weapons, you just loot spells, that would be crazy.
Couple of patches, they could have built a whole separate game inside League of Legends. Kind of like what happened to TFT. But this one would be perfect for casual audience. Instead, the League of Legends team did what they often do. They dropped it immediately after it failed. There was no further iteration and no further effort to make it work. If something didn't perform well, scrap it, we'll start from the beginning. The biggest offender of this was Nexus Blitz.
Oh,
Riot was
Nexus
so
Blitz.
close to a permanent
I loved Nexus Blitz. Man, I was playing a shit ton of Nexus Blitz.
casual game mode. But again, it didn't do well, so instead of fixing the
Yeah, this was basically Riot's custom game. Because they threw in the most wacky stuff in here. The 1v1 arena, the whatever. Like, this was basically our experience of playing the Warcraft 3 custom game. This was all the Warcraft 3 games they could think of, they put into one game.
flaws, just scrap it and make it all go to waste.
Give it back
Can
to
you
us, man.
imagine
Why
if
did you
Nexus
kill
Blitz
this? Like,
stuck
you
around?
put so much effort
We would
into
have
this.
a game mode where Riot could try all the wacky stuff, and it wouldn't interfere with League of Legends itself. But alas, Nexus Blitz was Riot's last attempt at a big game mode.
Why is
And
this guy
now
playing
it's
Lethal
been over
Tempo
2 years
on
since
Ziggs?
the last game mode event. By which I mean an event with a dedicated map. I mean, sure, Ultimate Spellbook was really good. It had replayability and people loved it. But really? We are back on the Summoner's Rift again? Have you seen what other games do with their game modes? I haven't played Fortnite since Season 1, but my mind gets always blown away by their events. Be it an on-rail shooter or an escort mission with Dwayne Johnson. You watch what's
Dwayne
happening
Johnson.
over there, but League can't have a new map? That's why I believe I'm being fair with all this critique. For the size League is, in reality, we're getting very little content. When it comes to events, everyone is saying one thing. You call it a new event, we call it a shop update. That's what the new patch is, it is patching in new skins. And yes, the visual novel was nice the first time. The second time, after everyone figured out the
Huh?
I don't bit.
Ja, men bara sätta på mig byxor.
Okay.
dialogue options were fake, it was fine.
Ja, mina egna.
The third time, people
Annars
still
så
knew
skjut
the
oss.
dialogue options were fake. And they didn't like the Star Guardian story. But sure, let's say all visual novels are
Ja, kör
amazing and
Pulli
people
då.
love them. We still progress through them by only playing League of Legends, which is the same experience I have had 1,000 times. The reason Spirit Blossom was awesome is because after going through the visual novel, instead of playing on Summoner's Rift, you hopped into Nexus Blitz, which had its own map. It was a brand new experience, which was now discontinued.
This was the Spirit Blossom
With
map?
the
I didn't
Ruination,
even know
you
that.
jumped from a visual novel back into a shady Summoner's Rift. And with Star Guardians, back to the same Summoner's Rift. With shady UI, because they didn't change them from last time. Speaking of using what came last time, we also have the rotating game modes. So there, why are we only getting All for One and Earths? Earth coming back every time kinda confuses me. Didn't Riot say that Earth drives a lot of people back into the game, but it also increases burnout? So since Earth is up quite often, shouldn't we be worried? Is it plugging a hole that we should be aware of? You see, in this long rant where I've been really all over the place, I explained that League's events have been quite limiting when it comes to the gameplay of League of Legends. And if you return to League of Legends looking for a new experience,
Wait, Sona
you're
was a
likely
double
on
N
League
or
of
am I
Legends.
crazy?
And if you
Okay, never
return
mind.
to League of Legends looking for a new experience, you're likely to turn around and go back to where you came from. And that's a really big deal with a totally different reason. Riot is great at spreading their IP around, from TV shows to other games to promotional events. And while the purpose of this is to make people pay attention to their new products, it also funnels attention back to League of Legends. And that's where everything kinda starts to crumble. Because all these people go straight back to the competitive grind fest. If only there was a game mode where smurfing would make the experience better. Again, League of Legends has not been designed for casual players for a while now, with probably the biggest pro-casual change being challenges. It is a nice progression system that works besides just ranked, but even this has a big flaw. It anchors the players back to what they already know. If you want to complete these fun
Bro?
challenges, guess what? You better go back to ARM and Summoner's Rift, which we have played 1,000 times. At least ARM got some new updates now, so I wanna see how that turns out. Now, of course, this entire time I have avoided one single topic. A big reason why we are probably not getting new game modes. You can't buy them and they don't sell skins. I mean, they could, but the game modes themselves don't. Fortnite might
I think that the key point here is that I don't feel like Riot would be stupid enough not to understand this, right? I don't think Riot is stupid enough to not understand the concept of just bring people to the shop rather than trying to sell the items. Just keep people in your shop and eventually they will buy, right? There is an investment that is worth doing to keep people in your shop. That's the whole idea of the IKEA restaurant and the design of the IKEA shop, is that you enter and then you spend the day there. I would imagine that what Riot is struggling with is manpower. And I don't know what the hiring process would be of people that are game developers and are damn good at it. But it seems to me as if, right now, if I have a limited amount of resources at Riot, and League is still doing successful, and the competitor that is Dota, they have the international, but other than that, they are not really that big of a threat. But then I look at the Valorant side, and we want to cut deep into the viewership of CS:GO and really annihilate that. And the Riot MMO as well is going to be a massive project. If I have limited resources, maybe not limited resources, maybe it's not the right way of putting it, the limited amount of people, then I would probably prioritize the other games.
actually have some of the best events out there when it comes to live games. And still, people play them once and never again. But they still have these events because these short experiences, which only lose them money, actually make them money in the long term. Because people are more likely to stick around the game to see what's gonna come out next. It's the overall quality of the game that goes up with game modes, not the short-term earnings. So if you argue that Riot can't do game modes because game modes don't make money, that's false. You just don't see the money immediately, it ramps up over time. And if Riot actually thinks that, they need to get a new
these
accountant
pirate
or
ships are
something.
crazy.
Then again, Riot is the one who argued that we should pay for achievements because the system was too expensive to develop. So maybe I'm just digging a hole here. But don't worry, that hole goes deeper.
Yeah, Eternals suck ass.
Because, throughout 2022, I noticed something. You know how I was on Copium the entire year? It started with the Void event, only for us to not get anything, which led me to believe that Riot was working on something big. They had enough time to make a big game mode with a new map.
Yeah,
And the theme was Star Guardians, only to get Ultimate Spellbook again. After this, I started wondering, what was Riot working on? There are no new game modes anymore. 5 new champions, which is average, but VGUs went down to 1, that being Udyr in 2022. And
let's be honest, Udyr is just Thor from God of War Ragnarok. They just stole him.
Interview, it was revealed that Skarner is gonna come out towards the end of 2023. So both are 1 down from 3 on average. On top of this, there's the lore. And let me tell you, when it comes to my channel, this year was brutal. And I totally saved myself by leaning into the MMO. Because when it comes to the lore of 2022, there is no content either. When a new champion is released, of course there is their new lore that I can cover. That's usually their bio and a bit of a short story. But besides that, Riot also releases the color stories. These stories are usually not related to any specific events. They are just stories for the writers to have fun and expand the world. In 2021 we got 7, and 5 more at the end of the year, which were leading up to the big cinematic. But for the sake of accuracy, since we are only in November, let's just say that last year we got 7. In 2022, we got 2! And the last one was 5 months ago. How am I supposed to support an entire channel on that?
What's a bombolini?
I mean, sure, the Ruination book came out and it was amazing, but Anthony Reynolds worked on that last year too. These days, the lore only gets pushed forward by Legends of Runeterra. Is that Riot's goal? Do they want to make the game primarily focus on the lore?
Totally.
If not, what happened?
Bro, I need this. I need this GIF here of Jin, and I want him to play the violin on my stream. I'll put him in the corner. I'll put him like right next to my face or something. Actually, it's like this. Actually, is it? Yeah, it's like that.
Both in League's gameplay and the lore, everything died down. But coincidentally, you know what has not died down? Skins. We are still getting 6 or 7 skins and a prestige skin per patch. If anything, if it comes down to the money part, everything's fine. But here's the kicker, when it comes to skins, most of that is being outsourced. It's not Riot who is making most of those skins, it is freelancers and other studios. So what is Riot doing? I don't understand. It feels like either the League team feels grounded and they are afraid of doing anything crazy, or as Nicky Boy mentioned before, it seems like League of Legends might be understaffed. See, in the past we were getting new game modes and actual new content. Riot wasn't afraid if it was buggy or broken. As long as it wasn't crashing and it was playable, sure, let people have fun. Odyssey famously launched without going onto PvE, and during the first days the augments didn't even work, but no one cared and everyone had fun. And it even went down as one of the best game modes to be ever created. Perhaps when Odyssey launched it was a bit too early. 4 years ago people were still focused more on the competitive side, and so even casual players still went and played normal games instead. These days, as the players are a bit more relaxed around League of Legends, I wonder if Odyssey would have a bit more success. Anyway, this entire strange rant has one big point. It's a point that may scare some of you, but most people will understand. League of Legends needs more dog. What Mordog is doing to TFT is incredible. And yes, I know there is more people working on TFT, but it is easier for me to target a single person. In general, TFT has been changing every half a year to make the game more interesting. They keep the rules the same. You save money to earn money and you buy new units. But every half a year they aesthetically swap everything around and they add in a new mechanic. And sometimes that temporary mechanic is so good it becomes permanent. Because the rules never change, even people who quit TFT and then come back can still play it with ease. And more importantly, this is how TFT makes their player come back with every set. Every
time I start playing TFT on the new set again, and after 20 games I'm sick of it, but the first game I'm playing I am so enthusiastic.
Essentially playing as a whole new game with the same rules. And when it comes to the new mechanics, TFT is not afraid of going wild. The first set was normal. The second set introduced some elemental buffs that were randomized every game. The third set gave the entire game different rules every time you played. The fourth set had the chosen units. Set 5 had the cursed double-edged items. Set 6 added in augments that were so good they became permanent. Set 7 had dragons, which is the only feature that players really didn't like. And Set 8 iterated on that. And they turned dragons into the threat units. Can you imagine if League did that? Can you imagine if Nexus Blitz was a permanent game mode with different rules every season? What if in one season, after killing a monster, you tame it and send it to lane? And what if in the next season, when you die, your soul spawns as a bot fighting for the enemy, giving more punishment to death? And what if they just make Prob Hunt for one of the special events for League of Legends? You know, you turn into a jungle monster, you randomize jungle. That's the beauty of changing.
Okay, Necrit is not, we are not hiring Necrit to develop our game modes. He can run the stories. I was not intrigued by any of his ideas here. I like my ideas more.
Mechanics. If a mechanic doesn't work, scrap it, that's fine, work on something else. Many games do it, including Mythic Dungeons in WoW. And in fact, that's how TFT got where it is now. And that's not mentioning the fact that TFT gets 6 new environments every patch. League gets nothing. So, in conclusion, I don't know what's happening over at League. That's fine, work on something else. Many games do it, including Mythic Dungeons in WoW. And in fact, that's how TFT got where it is now. And that's not mentioning the fact that TFT gets 6 new environments every patch. League gets nothing. So, in conclusion, I don't know what's happening over at League. But it's scary to see everything slow down, while also not getting the events that people are asking for. I am one of the people who would like to play League, but I don't because I grinded the game for 8 years and I just can't get a new experience anymore. And all League is doing now is teasing events that never come out. We got bunch of Void teasers the last time, and now the Darkin teasers are piling up. I can't wait to see Aatrox in the visual novel.
Alright, Necrit everyone, thank you very much for the video, Necrit. If you want me to take it down or not react to it on my YouTube, just give me a ring. I will put a link in the description below. A very good video from Necrit to give his viewpoint on you know, what he's thinking about the game. I think all in all, you know, the main thing for me is just I agree with the sentiment. You know, I agree with the sentiment that we need more content, and that's it. I think the game deserves more content.